Welcome. You are here with Dr. Nilda Perez with Business Foresight, creating strategies towards your extraordinary future. I want to be able to present my guest that I am so excited to have here, Dr. Luz Gonzalez, which I've been talking to for I think months now, right?
Yeah.
And been looking forward to having you in the show. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Luz. Dr. Luz is the CEO of Transformative Conversations, a coaching and consulting company. She facilitates leaders, businesses, and organizations to change and develop through dialogue, which is really fascinating. I can't wait till you start hearing what she does. She is very passionate about reviving the art of conversation. She grew up in Communist Cuba, and she lived in constant fear. And one of the main things, and one of the main reasons why she lived in constant fear was because having the wrong conversation could be that was assumed to be counter-revolutionary statement. The consequences were dire, and that was very impressive when she was explaining that to me. So for her freedom of speech, she means, what she means by that is being able to explore and express thoughts and emotions and to find the best path and best strategy and action. So that's why she believes that communication should be the centerpiece of leadership. She has her Ph.D. in organizational behavior with a concentration in dialogue and development and leadership development. And she's also the author of Transformative Conversations, The Heart of Leadership Journey, which can be found in Amazon. And we'll talk a little bit more about where you can find the book later. So she's been working with leaders both in the U.S. and in all of Latino America for quite some time now, for the past 20 years, right?
Right.
Yeah. So aquí estoy introduciendo a la doctora Ada Luz, que es la CEO de Transformative Conversations, conversaciones
que transforman.
Ella viene haciendo esto hace 20 años y ella vino de Cuba, donde era como un país muy comunista, donde no se podía hablar. Eso era un problema, tremendo problema. Entonces, la idea que ella está, lo que ella mayormente trabaja es con conversaciones, es muy impresionante. So Dr. Ada, thank you for coming.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you because, as you said, hemos estado por tiempo comunicándonos, pero no nos habíamos visto cara a cara.
De cara a cara, ¿verdad? Es el poder de Facebook, ¿verdad?
Yep.
I love it because we get to know people that we really don't know, but actually believe that we do because we get into amazing dialogue, and it was great. It started out writing, and then we spoke, and well, it was like a kindred spirit, and I'm so happy that we're here today.
Well, we evidently are so much in tune that even today we even dress with same colors, even though we didn't plan it.
It wasn't part of
that must say that our minds are in sync.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, okay, so here's where I want to start. Your focus is conversations, and I know one of the reasons, one of the passions, una de las razones que tienes tanta pasión sobre conversaciones. Dime un poco, explain to me why. Like, where does this come from and why?
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only Latina that remembers growing up in those houses where we had a big porch with rocking chairs on the porch, and the neighbors will come in the evening, sit down, have conversations, and that was kind of like a life lessons for me. I was I don't know, between 9 and 13, 14 years old, but my parents never made me go inside of the house as long as I kept my mouth shut. So I could listen in to the adults' conversations about anything, life, love, work, whatever it was. And that went on until Fidel came in. Then when communism set in, there were no more conversations on the porch because everybody was afraid. Nobody knew who could be an informant. Nobody knew who could report something said wrongly. So that changed the whole atmosphere. So when I left Cuba, for me being able to speak my mind and my emotions was kind of like, wow, now I can talk. It's like my mouth is out of jail. I can talk.
Right.
Yet, when I started my work with organizations, I realized that many times I would go into an organization and I could feel that same fear factor because people were afraid of speaking and having someone talk about them and maybe stab them in the back, maybe they will lose their job. So that's why I'm passionate about conversations, because I think that in the age we live in, it's important that people can talk to each other.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so for our Latinos, monolingual audience, if you can probably explain that
Sure.
a little bit in Spanish.
So, una de las razones por las que yo soy tan apasionada en cuanto a conversaciones es porque creciendo en Cuba, como muchos otros latinos, en mi casa había un portal con mecedoras y ahí nos sentábamos a conversar con los vecinos y todo eso, hasta que llegó Fidel y eso se terminó porque todo el mundo tenía miedo, nadie sabía quién era quién podía ser un informante al gobierno. Y yo estaba tan amedrentada con todo eso que cuando yo salí de Cuba me tomó por lo menos 6 meses que si alguien me hacía una pregunta sobre Cuba, yo bajaba la voz a un susurro, porque era ese temor de que me escuchen.
Sí.
Y para mi sorpresa, aunque vivimos en un país libre donde hay libertad de prensa y libertad de expresión y todo eso, a veces yo llego a organizaciones y encuentro que la gente también tiene miedo, porque temen que alguien les va a dar una puñalada por la espalda porque pueden perder el trabajo o lo que sea.
Okay, so entonces, would you say that most of the passion for conversations has come from the inability to be able to speak for so many years?
Right.
Okay.
And also, I also work with families. I have 2 sides of me. I work with organizations and I also work with families. And in families, it's the same thing. There are people that are afraid of opening their mouths in their home because there's going to be a reaction from someone.
Okay, right, exactly.
So, también pasa en las casas a veces que la gente teme hablar porque le temen a la reacción que vaya a tener alguien.
Y mayormente a veces es el machismo, el papá, que hay ciertas cosas que no pueden hablar. Okay.
Especially if you are a girl.
Especially if you're a girl. Yeah, I know, that's kind of like another strike against you.
Right.
I get it. So, what made you think or even imagine that this would be a problem in organizations? Because this is, here we go again, this is not typically something that organizations talk about. I come from the foresight, and I have also worked with organizations, and conversations is not something that they really talk about. They have, leadership usually has this impression of what they think their organization is, even if it's nowhere near that. And I've never had anybody say, any leader say, you know what, we struggle with dialogue here. We're very open, we're very close, we have great relationships. It's typically what they think, or the staff is a problem.
Sure, but they don't speak about it because they don't realize that's the problem. What they speak about, though, is losing time in meetings and not going anywhere and not getting to any action, or losing money because the leadership comes with these bright ideas, and then when they need to implement it, people are against it, or people are not doing what they are supposed to do, and then they label people as the problem, as if they are resistant to change. And it's not that, it's because there has not been a conversation, because the people have not been part of the process, then they are not invested in it.
Right.
So when they can see that, oh wow, if we have a different kind of conversation, if we have an open dialogue in which we have people from all the segments of the organization together, not just the leaders, then we don't need to spend so much effort and time and money trying to sell our idea, because it's everybody's idea.
Right. So el problema mayormente, porque mi experiencia ha sido que siempre el liderazgo piensa que el problema o que no tiene problema, y en sí hay un problema en la organización, o ellos piensan que son the staff,
Los empleados.
Los empleados. Sí, pero entonces es que ellos son resistentes, es culpa de ellos. Tenemos aquí el problema es entre el liderazgo y los empleados. Pero tú dices que no es así.
No, yo digo que si se involucra a los empleados en el proceso de, ya sea buscar las estrategias que se van a usar el próximo año, o cómo va a ser el cambio, o lo que sea, no tienes que venderles la idea, porque es idea de todo el mundo, porque ha surgido la idea no solamente en el liderazgo, pero con toda la otra gente junta. Y en fin de cuentas, si los líderes piensan al respecto, los empleados que están más cerca de lo que están pasando pueden salir con ideas más creativas a veces que ellos mismos de cómo implementar algo, porque ellos son los que lo tienen que implementar.
Exacto. Y fue idea de ellos, o fue parte de idea de ellos. Exacto.
Fue algo que construyeron juntos.
Juntos, sí. Y lo hicieron juntos a través de conversaciones.
Exacto.
Right. Okay. You've worked all over Latin America. You've studied abroad. You've studied everywhere.
Actually, I studied mostly here in the States
Mostly
while living abroad.
Oh, while living abroad, really? Yeah. Okay. So, you lived in Spain, you lived in Mexico, you lived in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. Did you find that this conversation problem is a universal problem?
It is a universal problem, except that the emphasis of where the problem is might be different in different places.
Okay.
In Latin America, many people think, well, we speak. And it's true, they speak a lot, but not necessarily in an open dialogue. There are a lot of monologues. There are a lot of blah, blah, blah that doesn't get anywhere.
Right.
You know, speaking around a subject.
An issue, yeah. Okay.
And so for them, learning to have dialogues and conversations that are more strategic, that get more to results, is more important. In other places like Europe and here in the States, it's just to even start talking, because people are not so used to having conversations. So.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you feel that the problem is universal, but the way that they address it is different.
Exactly.
Okay. So la pregunta fue que usted ha trabajado ella ha vivido en distintos países latinoamericanos, Costa Rica, España, México, y la pregunta fue qué es lo que piensa sobre estas conversaciones, si es el mismo problema en organizaciones mundial o si es solamente o mayormente distinto en los Estados Unidos.
Y mi respuesta fue que sí, es universal, que tal vez en diferentes países o en diferentes lugares se manifiesta de diferentes maneras el problema o la necesidad. Tal vez en Latinoamérica hablamos más, pero hablamos más paja, como dicen, okay. Sin tanta sustancia, y llegar a poner lo que hablamos en un sistema en el cual lleguemos a ser estratégicos y que lleguemos a la acción, no simplemente estar toda una mañana en una reunión donde todo el mundo ha estado hablando de 40 cosas y no han llegado realmente al meollo de lo que hace falta hablar. So, tal vez tener un poquito más de disciplina en el cómo hablar es más un problema de Latinoamérica, mientras que en Estados Unidos viene siendo más un problema de hablar, punto.
Sí.
La gente tiende a hablar menos y entonces no se comunican tanto, especialmente en las organizaciones hay esos silos entre diferentes departamentos y pueden estar perdiendo dinero simplemente porque no se están comunicando.
Okay. ¿Por qué tú encuentras que la comunicación es tan importante para el futuro del liderazgo?
Esa es muy buena pregunta, porque la gente a veces piensa, bueno, estamos en la edad de la tecnología, so, emails o chats o lo que sea electrónicamente, ya no hace falta tanto las conversaciones. El asunto es que los que no miran hacia adelante no se dan cuenta que justamente donde va a estar el mayor problema y la mayor necesidad es en conversar, porque el mundo en que estamos viviendo está pasando de tecnología a la edad de la conexión y de más humanidad. So, especialmente si piensas en empresas globales que vas yendo de un país a otro y lo demás, tiene que haber conversaciones. De lo contrario, la gente no se conoce y entonces hay muchos más misunderstandings, how you say that in Spanish?
Malentendimientos.
Mucho más malentendimiento porque no se están dando el tiempo de conversar. A mí me ha pasado, por ejemplo, si te puedo dar un ejemplo,
Por favor.
estaba con un grupo de una compañía multinacional teniendo unas reuniones en Islandia y había gente de Estados Unidos, de Alemania, de Holanda, de Dinamarca, de Islandia, todos partes de la misma compañía. Y después de estar 2 días y medio juntos conversando, abriendo esas conversaciones, el comentario de ellos fue, hemos avanzado más en estos 2 días que en los últimos 2 años. Porque parte de lo que se dieron cuenta es que uno de los problemas que tenían era que, digamos, en Dinamarca habían resuelto un problema, pero no estaban hablando con la gente de Estados Unidos. Y en Estados Unidos estaban con el mismo problema, gastando de vuelta, reinventando la rueda, gastando dinero y esfuerzo en llegar a una solución cuando ya lo habían resuelto en el otro lado.
Okay. So, and I'm going to ask it in English, just why is communication important for the future of leadership?
Because leaders in the future will be not so much idea people, but connectors.
Okay.
The best leaders will be the ones that can connect their people, the people in other organizations, the people around the world, and to connect, you have to talk.
Right.
Because it's and I didn't mention this in Spanish, I can say it at the end.
Yeah.
Part of what makes connection is the gaze, the looking at each other that in the brain brings the mirror neurons awake. And the mirror neurons are the ones that connect people, are the ones that let us have empathy and compassion towards each other and to understand each other.
Right.
So when we are lacking that, when we are not having that face-to-face interaction, that doesn't happen.
Okay. And so that is the primary problem, that there's no connection. Now, we were together earlier, and we had a conversation. There was a story that you told me that I think is definitely noteworthy, and it was regarding conversations. One of the points that I made is that when you were explaining to me about Cuba and the lack of being able to have a dialogue and the fear of actually dialoguing. So I guess if it wasn't good morning or if it wasn't very benign conversation, you really were not talking. So, and then you come to the United States where honestly we believe that it's all right to talk and we say whatever we believe or whatever we think, and with very little regard of what others think or even having empathy towards what other people what they feel or what they think. So with that said, I want you to tell me that story because I think that story was fascinating.
Well, yeah. The thing is that when you learn that you cannot open your mouth because you don't know who is listening. You grow up with that fear. So then when I go into an organization where people are really feeling that even though they can say anything, because they can say anything, they say it in an abrasive way sometimes, and then others' feelings are hurt, and then the others feel they cannot speak. And so I can almost feel this fear around, because I recognize it, because it kind of speaks to me.
Right.
And so one of the things I enjoy doing is being able to get those people together and to see them do little steps to open up in a different way. And of course, in order to do that, you have to create a safe space where people feel safe. People
Right.
feel that they can talk and that there are not going to be retaliations about it.
Right. You were telling me a story about a woman that went to her neighbor. If you care to share that story, she went to her neighbor. She baked a cake.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
I
I
remember
thought-
now what story
yeah.
you're talking about.
Okay.
Well, that's very pertinent for the times we are living.
Right.
And I was telling you about how our country in some ways is kind of divided.
Mhm.
And there are people with all kinds of fears. And so this lady, who happened to be a Muslim, the day after the elections was being really fearful because she started feeling that, well, what will happen? And so what she did was she baked a pie and went across the street to her U.S. neighbors, who she knew who they had voted for, and she knocked on the door and she said, I'm your neighbor from across the street, and I baked this pie for you because I am afraid. I don't know what will happen. And that disarmed the neighbors, and they opened the door and invite her in, and they say to her, you know, we are also afraid. Since 9/11, we have been afraid of people like you. And they had a great conversation while they were eating pie.
Okay.
And they ended up understanding each other and not being so afraid of each other, because that's the thing. Conversations bring down walls. Conversations bring up what is human in us. It's easy to be a bully if you are just texting someone or posting
Right.
something on Facebook.
Right.
But if you are face to face and you are seeing the humanity that you share with the other person,
it's hard to be a bully.
then it's different.
Right. Because then it becomes more personal.
Right.
It's not so abstract. It's not people out there, but it's an actual person.
Mhm.
And you realize that everybody, it's funny because one of the statements I always make, because they go, everybody, blah, 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 whatever. When somebody says that, and I'm like, I can't even get two people to agree. And you're talking about everybody? Wow. that's huge. Because it's true. Like, you can't, again, and a lot of it comes from the lack of conversation.
Because, see, you don't have to agree.
Absolutely.
You
I love
create
that.
together meaning.
Right.
You learn to respect each other's thoughts.
Right.
And maybe you agree to disagree sometimes.
Right.
But you find a middle ground where you can function, especially when we are talking about organizations. That's important.
Right.
You need to get to the point where the people involved can live with whichever ideas have been born out of their conversation.
Right, exactly. And I think that goes true in almost everywhere, and whether that be an organization or a family or, anything. What do we call them? Living organisms, right?
Right?
Anything that's a living organism, it has to be able to flow.
Mhm.
And for human beings, that flow comes through conversation.
Right?
Okay, awesome. So, let's see. There are so many questions that I have. You finally decided that this is what you wanted to do with your life, to be able to open this dialogue, and you started a company. And how did you already have like some groundwork to know that this was going to work and this was going to take? I see you work in some awesome conversations, some awesome organizations.
Well, no, I didn't know necessarily. I don't, especially when I started, I was new in this country. I didn't move to the United States until 1997. So I didn't have as many connections, and I could do with a lot more connections still.
Yeah.
But one thing I knew, that everybody needs dialogue.
Right.
And even the people that think they don't, that shows that they needed more.
Right.
And when you start having conversations with those leaders,
Mm-hmm.
they can see it.
Okay. Okay. I want to ask you the question in
Oh,
Spanish.
wait, I
now.
hadn't said anything in
Yeah.
Spanish about that.
Right, exactly. First of all, I want you to share the story. The story, yo quiero que explique esa historia que me dijo sobre la conversación y cómo el diálogo creó una amistad o por lo menos un entendimiento entre personas.
Sí, yo te estaba contando que el día después de las elecciones todos sabemos que ha habido mucha división en el país. Eso no hay ni que decirlo. Pero mayormente la gente está con temores, algunos fundados y algunos mal fundados. Pero cuando uno piensa en general, eso se hace más difícil. Pero esta señora, que era una señora del Medio Oriente, una señora árabe, decidió hacer algo diferente. Y ella horneó un pie y lo tomó y lo llevó a los vecinos de enfrente, que eran americanos, y tocó a la puerta y les dijo: yo soy la vecina del frente y vengo a traerles este pie porque yo tengo miedo. Y ellos la mandaron a entrar y hablaron de los temores de cada quien. Ellos le dijeron: pues nosotros también hemos tenido miedo de la gente que se mira como usted desde el 11 de...
El 9/11.
El 9/11, ¿no?
Sí.
Y tuvieron una conversación y hubo más entendimiento, porque ahora ellos se podían ver no como esta gente árabe y esta gente americana, sino mi vecina. Había una cara, había una expresión diferente.
Y también compartieron sus temores.
Exacto.
Yo creo que
con
ahí,
honestidad.
Con honestidad.
Y con respeto.
Exacto, exacto. Yo creo que cuando uno es vulnerable y uno le explica a una persona, le habla o tienen ese diálogo, mire, esto es lo que yo le tengo temor. Yo creo que eso como que relaja y yo creo que ahí se puede tener mejor conversación.
Definitivamente, porque la verdad y la honestidad es lo que hace que los temores desaparezcan.
Exacto, exacto. Perfecto. Okay. So, yo quiero, entonces, el futuro del liderazgo, ¿tú crees que tenga mucho que ver con esa conversación?
Sí, esa parte no la dijimos en español. Yo creo que tiene mucho que ver porque, aunque estamos en una era tan tecnológica donde la gente tiende a hablar a través de la tecnología, ya sea texteando
son medios sociales.
Exacto.
Sí.
Sin embargo, falta esa conversación cara a cara, que es lo que despierta las neuronas espejo en el cerebro, que son las que hacen que uno pueda tener empatía y compasión y conexión. Es más fácil ser un acosador, intimidar a otra gente a través de un texto o de Facebook, que cuando lo estás haciendo frente a frente a alguien, mirándole a la cara. Porque entonces nos damos cuenta que compartimos esa humanidad.
Exacto, exacto. Okay, so you've been your whole premise and your whole, I want almost say like your campaign is for conversations.
Right.
And because conversations are so important. And do you see it changing? Do you see that this will change, people, and that it will unite us more? Or do you see that we're steering so far away from it that, how do we get it? Like how, I mean, I love your passion for it. I love your campaigning for it. I would like to know, given social media and given the fact that oftentimes we hide behind that. We feel that we have the right to say what we want, even if it's disrespectful to others, because, like you said, we don't have a face in front of us. We're not actually saying to someone. So how can we change that? What are the things that we can do,
Well,
to change that?
social media is not the problem. Social media is great to start the conversation.
Okay.
The problem is if we stop just there. To give you an example, my father just turned 90 years old this past weekend.
Oh, happy birthday.
And we have friends all through the United States and in many other places.
Mm-hmm.
I posted in Facebook that I was going to be celebrating his birthday. And as a result of that, I received a lot of little notes from people that could remember him, were saying in which ways his leadership had been helpful to them or what they have learned from it.
Right.
But also there were 50 people present that would not have been there if we hadn't started with social media. But when they were present, they were talking to him and about him, and we had a wonderful conversation together. But the conversation started in social media,
Okay.
but then it developed.
Okay.
So social media can be a good starting point as long as we don't use it to just hide behind it, as you said.
Okay.
But if we optimize it to recognize that we need to go beyond that to keep the conversation going,
Right.
so that we can be honest and open, having that face-to-face contact.
Right. Okay. That's fabulous, because I think that's one of the main problems that I have found, that, as awesome as technology is also a way to keep us from real, dialogue, because it's not, I don't care how often, I'll be honest, like when we met, I've been following you, I love, what you do and the way you do it, and I was very fascinated by that. But honestly, I was like, okay, can we talk? I needed to hear a voice. I wanted to put that, that voice together. And of course, then the next step was us meeting face to face. But that I needed to have that dialogue. I wanted to hear what you said, how you say it, because it's one thing that one way that you say it in writing, and it's a totally different way when we actually have that conversation.
Sure. And to give you an example from leadership, is I have spoken to leaders that are puzzled why the employees are not following whatever directive they were given. And they will say something like, well, we have communicated this everywhere. And I said, okay, so how you have communicated it? Oh, we have sent emails to everybody. We have announcements on the electronic board. We have sent little reminders on their computers. And I said, okay, listen what you are saying. With how many people have you had a conversation about it? And I said, well, when I talk to your employees, they don't have a clue. They don't know why you are so passionate about it. And then kind of like they go like, oh, so we are supposed to talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
And when they do, they find that, oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're surprised to hear what other people have to say and what they've missed also, because you don't even know if you sent all that out and you're not getting the show that you want. Maybe they're not reading it. Maybe they're too bogged down. Maybe there has to be something.
Or they are misreading it.
There we go.
Because you can think that you were very clear, and maybe you weren't.
Yeah. And I love to write, and I've been in school all my life, and I really am very passionate about writing. And yet I find that it is the worst way to communicate, because there is no inflection and there is no tone. Mm-hmm. And okay, one of the things that I always say, something like okay, you can say okay and say if there's, remember, if you're just writing it, it depends on that reader how they're going to read it, because it could be like a sarcastic, well, okay, or it can be okay, or oh, okay, or it can be, so when you miss that tone and when you miss the inflection and you miss you have said, you can use they could take as simple as one word or one sentence, and it could be completely misconstrued, and you're like, oh my goodness, that is not what I meant. Mm-hmm. But how do you do that without actually having the conversation?
Right. Because, see, part of what gets people in trouble is they don't get the meaning. They assume they got the meaning, right, and they react according to those assumptions.
Right.
And if you don't check those assumptions, then, there can be trouble.
Yeah. Then you're in deep. Yeah, you're in deep. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a little break here, and then we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay. So
I don't even know how we are doing with the time.
How are we doing with the time? Yeah. Huh?
I'm checking right now for you.
Okay. Now I need you to write me a couple of other questions, and we will definitely do this at the end.
You are at 35 minutes.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So
we're doing good.
Do you have any pen?
A pen. To move this. Nope. I'm getting everything but. Okay, I just want to make sure that we're getting you really good. Sorry, let me just get you a quick pen.
And this portion is for this Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no, it's not going to be for this Saturday. It's going to be for the following.
Okay, I was just labeling the file.
Yeah, if we can date it for the following Saturday, that would be great. I'm going to do a little intro in the beginning.
Yep.
And, yeah. Because I do a little segment up front, and then we'll do this.
Great.
And then then we'll put this on. And I don't know, I'll probably be curling my hair or something. I have no idea what I'll be doing while that's going, but I'll be here, and then I'll close out. Probably take some of the stuff from the book. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I want to talk about the book.
All right, so whenever you are ready.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So, are you ready?
Almost.
Okay.
Two at least.
Okay, so, we're ready?
Whenever you're good.
Okay, we're good.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so you wrote a book called Transformative Conversations, The Heart of Leadership, The Leadership Journey, which is on Amazon.
Correct.
Okay.
And it's both in book form and in electronic form.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So I want to ask you a couple of questions about the book because there are several things that you wrote here that I'm kind of fascinated by. You ask, is old school chat overrated?
Well, it depends what you mean by old school chat, of course.
Okay.
My premise there is that there are different levels of conversations, but even the more superficial level, even the saying hello, you need to have that before you can go deeper. So, yeah, if you don't even stop to chat with anybody, how are you going to have a real conversation if you have not connected in any way?
Okay. So where do you think conversation starts? With a look? With where do you think that a conversation takes off, starts?
To me, it starts with connection. So it can be just a connection of the eyes, it can be a hello, but the important part is that it's an authentic connection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I'm just crossing you on the hall and not even stopping and I say hi and keep walking, well, that doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
But I like the way that the South Africans do it. When they stop to say hello to someone, what they say in their language, of course, which I cannot pronounce,
Okay.
is, I see you. And what the other person responds is, I am here. Now, I love that. It fascinates me because when someone says, I see you, it's saying, I'm pausing. I am seeing the whole of you as a human being.
Right.
I'm connecting.
Right.
And the other one is saying, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I love it. I love that. So that's where this starts because one of the main reasons why I ask that is because oftentimes, you can have a conversation or think you have a conversation, but you're saying they're not necessarily connecting.
Right. And if you are connecting, you really are not having a conversation. You can be having two monologues. One person starts talking, and the second that the person stops to breathe, the other one starts talking about
So they're not
a disconnected thing.
So that's not connection.
Mm-mm.
That's not connection. Yeah, because I've had that. I've been talking in the middle of a conversation with someone, and suddenly you realize that they're like waiting. They're not even listening to what you're saying. They're thinking about what's the next thing they're going to say.
Right.
Okay. So I have one other question. You mentioned the importance of conversations in organizations. So doesn't that take you with? Does that take time to be able? Because you see, what I know about, I've done everything from, I was a regional, I did regional work, I was a regional director, and one of the things that I tried to do was always connect with the people. Because I'm like, most of the time, again, the rules come from the top, and you're like this conduit of telling them this is what has to be done. But you're right, there is no conversation. So how do you see that? Does it take time? Because I never thought, I was like, this is impossible. That's never going to happen.
Well, sure, it takes time. The problem is that it takes more time to undo misunderstandings because you didn't have the conversation. It takes more time and you lose more money to not have a conversation and have people being all over the place, not being on the same page, as we say.
Okay.
And so that takes really more time.
Okay.
It might take a little bit more time, you think, but really it saves you time. It saves you time from conflicts. It saves you time from misunderstandings.
Okay, so entonces, las conversaciones en organizaciones, la pregunta fue, ¿le toma mucho tiempo para vamos a comenzar esas conversaciones? o hay organizaciones que nunca lo van a hacer?
Bueno, siempre hay organizaciones que nunca lo van a hacer, pero lo que pasa es, cuanto más las organizaciones se ponen más flat, como decimos, que hay,
Yeah,
que
flat
es
organizations, yes.
menos jerárquica,
Ajá.
hacen falta más conversaciones. Porque no hay alguien nomás diciendo, esto y esto y esto y esto y esto es lo que hay que hacer y punto.
Ujú.
Si queremos que haya más oportunidades de que todo el mundo participe,
Ujú.
hace falta más conversaciones.
Okay.
Y si toma un poquito de tiempo,
Ujú.
pero te previene de tener que perder más tiempo con conflictos y falta de entendimiento y de la gente haciendo las cosas a cualquier manera porque no entendieron. Si tienes una conversación, un diálogo abierto en el cual la gente puede decir, bueno, no entiendo eso o porque esto otro, y hay de lado y lado hay conversación, hay diálogo, no es un monólogo, es un diálogo.
Sí.
Entonces, en realidad, se usa menos tiempo a la larga.
A la larga. Okay. Okay. How can you present conversations, in conflict resolution or whatever? How do you present that? Because, I have to tell you, it's really hard to have a conversation when someone is angry.
Right. And see, what happens in conflict is conflict tends to escalate because one of the first things that happen in conflict is that people start interrupting each other, they stop listening,
Mm-hmm.
and they start screaming many times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, the fight or flight response in your brain goes on,
Mm-hmm.
and that means you are not reasoning anymore.
Right.
So,
Right.
no, that cannot happen. Now, one way in which I sometimes do when I am facilitating people in conflict is I use the old, wise American Indian custom of having a talking stick that you pass around. And that means if you have the stick in your hand, you
You
speak,
can talk.
and everybody else cannot say a word until you
Okay.
finish. And when you
Okay.
finish, you pass it to someone else. And if someone wants to ask a question, they have to ask for the stick. Believe me, I have been with management teams that we had to do that because they were in conflict and they were talking over each other and they were escalating. And it
No
was
one was
fascinating
listening.
to see what happens because it slows the conversation. And you will see them kind of reaching out for the stick and kind of, give it to me. But they were not saying anything.
Okay, but so let me ask you a question though. The question then is, are they even listening? Are they listening? Because that will be my concern.
Yeah, but it forces them to listen if they cannot answer right away.
Okay.
And
Okay.
also, another way in which I slow that conversation a little bit, I say, you cannot say your piece until you are sure that you are understanding what the other person is saying. So you need to make sure that you check the meanings.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I want to talk about your conversation guidelines. You have this wonderful little infographic that you have that gives guidelines, the do's and the don'ts, which I think are fascinating. And you have them both in Spanish and in English.
Right.
Okay, so this is awesome. Son, ¿cómo es? Sugerencias para conversaciones. Okay, so here, and I want to go through this really quickly, the do's and don'ts. Create a safe place.
Yeah, that's the first. If you don't have a safe place, you cannot go anywhere.
Right, and this is what you did not have in Cuba.
Exactly.
You didn't have, and even at home,
Right.
there was no safe place.
Mhm.
Okay, you keep it short.
Mhm.
You bring an open mind. You listen to understand, because listening is key.
And when you listen to understand, part of what is important is you are listening with everything. You are listening with your eyes, with your ears, with your heart, and with your full attention, your full presence.
Okay, fabulous. You ask and you answer,
Mm-hmm.
and you reflect.
And that piece is the one that usually doesn't happen in most places. But all the literature in how we transform and how we learn says that you have to have reflection in order for that to happen. And reflection means taking a stop, thinking, reflecting. And what is interesting is that when you're having a good conversation, after a little bit, when the conversation starts going deeper, it automatically starts doing that. People start taking pauses and nobody interrupts, and it's kind of like you can see the wheels turning, as we say.
Okay.
And that's when you know that you are really in a good place.
Okay, and I'm going to go over this in Spanish really quickly. Sugerencias para conversaciones. Voy a dar todos los pros y son crea un espacio seguro, lo que no tenías en Cuba. Ser breve. Ten mente abierta. Escuchar para entender.
Y eso significa escuchar con todo, tus ojos, tus oídos, tu corazón, tu presencia completa.
Pregunta y responde. Y finalmente, reflexionar.
Porque si no reflexionas, nada cambia. La transformación viene a través de la reflexión. Y cuando reflexionamos juntos, the sky is the limit, como decimos en inglés.
Okay, awesome. So, si una persona quiere comunicarse contigo, if they want to communicate with you, where do we go?
Mi website se llama como el libro, transformativeconversations.com.
Okay.
Y allí hay más información, pero además de eso, si estás interesado en la infográfica, pones Transformative Conversations / sugerencias - conversaciones - form.
Okay. All right, so it's www.transformativeconversations.com. Sugerencias, conversaciones, no?
Dash, it's a dash.
Is dash form.
Sí, between the words is a dash. And between the transformativeconversations.com and what comes after has to be a / sign.
Okay. Do you have a phone number, or do they
Yes.
get a hold of you? Can you please give us your number?
Sure. And I also will give you my email. My phone number is 302-399-3915. 302-399-3915. Y el email es muy fácil. Es González con Z las dos veces, .com. So the email is as easy, Ada Gonzalez with Z both times, .com.
Okay, simple. I love it. So we want you back. We definitely want you back. So we need to make that happen. It was awesome having you here. I love the conversation.
Hey, I did too. It's always fun to have this kind of conversation.
I love this conversation. I think it's excellent. And again, I'm looking forward to a lot more conversation and a lot more dialogue. I have to tell you, there's a few questions that I still have. That I definitely, because there are those people that have difficulty conversing. Mm-hmm. So I think that should be like part 2 of this conversation. How do you get someone who doesn't talk to be able to have a conversation?
Sure.
Okay.
And I can assure you, I know how to do that because I have had conversations with engineers, and they tell me they don't talk, and I say, oh yeah, they will talk, and they do.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. Alrighty then, so this ends this segment of our interview with Dr. Ada Luz Gonzalez. La doctora Ada Luz González. Aquí completamos esta sesión y bueno, yo espero que ella regrese y que podamos seguir esta conversación porque hay mucho que decir sobre conversaciones.
Así es, ha sido un gusto estar con ustedes. Gracias por la invitación.
Okay, awesome. Well, this ends this segment of Dr. Nilda Radio. We will not be airing next week from the station due to the holiday weekend. But on December 3rd, we'll be back with yet another wonderful guest, Bruno de Gama.
He's the CEO of the Brazilian Health Nut, an exceptional health strategist. As promised, we have a brand new giveaway for a very limited time. It's a contest for a 1-hour business and marketing consult. This is valued at over $600. What we'll do is that we'll look at your current business position and we'll assist you to reposition your business to be most profitable. Then my marketing director, Rachel Calderon, will show you how to set up an airtight marketing strategy. So if you want to win, you have to go to the labtrains.leadpages.co/Dr. Milda Perez contest. This will be written on Facebook, on SoundCloud, and on YouTube. So this ends our segment, and I will now say goodbye. I will say hasta luego.
I want to thank you for being with us on Business Foresight, always creating strategies towards an extraordinary future. Remember, I'm here with you with strategies every Saturday. I'll see you next week.